I want.
What's up, everybody? Tony Jigsaw Cutillo here, Fantasy Firebox, and I'll tell you what, man, I am ready today. It's Saturday, it's 4th of July weekend, fireworks, and let's talk about that real fast. But first of all, Win Daily Sports, obviously at Win Daily Sports on all social formats. YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the page. As always, hit the notification bell when all of our fantastic personalities go live, which is absolutely awesome. As always, at my man Adam, second. Adam, what's up, brother? I hope that you have a really nice day at the game tonight for the Phillies. Because obviously we are Philadelphia bred right here. We got a lot going on in the city of brotherly love, but what we're talking about today is we're going to do a little mix-up, right? We're going to do, because the fantasy football discussion is key right now, but we are going to talk some lineups first, early game slate, late game slate, 4 p.m., 7 p.m., things like that. Hey, Joe, what's up, man? Shout out, not to get personal, but I just read your message literally before I went on the air, so I wanted to say shout out to you and your daughter. Hope everybody's doing better. Everything is okay, man, for real. Gavin Sheets. Yes, Joe. Gavin Sheets, right? I mean, what's great? We do a thing here before we get started. We do a thing here that I specifically branded just for fun, okay? I branded this term called FFVP, Fantasy Football Value, our Fantasy Firebox Value Play. And I started doing some value plays last year in football, and I want to parlay that over into the world of baseball because I think there's a ton of opportunity inside that player pool under the $3,000 mark for you to be able to cash in. So I think one of those, Vinny, Jigsaw's back. Vinny, I haven't gone away, Vinny. I haven't gone away. Here's the thing, Vinny. I promise you, Heat Ratio Live will be back next week, okay? It will be back. We took a little break. I need to get some things in order. I got this fantasy thing rolling, which has always been my passion. I love fantasy sports. I love every opportunity. Windale gave me the opportunity to really expand upon my potential when it comes to that. So, but Heat Ratio Live, Vinny, will be back. Okay, we will get back to rolling to the local sports scene as well next week. But as always, man, thanks for checking in. I appreciate all the love from everybody, man. It's so much fun. So FFVP, Fantasy Football Value Play. I keep saying football. See how excited I am for fantasy football, but Fantasy Firebox Value Play. That's what it's all about. The baseline is only between 10 and 7 points. That's it, 7 and 10. And if you can get above 10, even better. That could be the difference. I always say this between finishing 7th and finishing 1st. You get that low ownership, low value player, right? That's what it's all about. Now, what I will say is 100%, you have to look between the numbers. Right? We're not you just don't go down the list, say, the guy's 2,700, we're going to throw him out there. Look at what he's done over the past 3 or 4 games. Look at the pitcher he's pitching. Look at where he's batting in the lineup. Is he batting 9th? Is he batting 4th? Is he batting 3rd? There's been some FFVPs that have been cleanup hitters for $2,000, right? So you really have to look at that. We're going to get in a couple of those plays because they've been hitting well, and Gavin Sheets has been one of them, 100%. But like I always ask, I like to start off the show with a little not weird, but things that bother me, right? I got the name Jigsaw because, I'm kind of in your face kind of personality. I'm the one who's going to tell you you're wrong. If somebody's wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. If you're right, I'm going to tell you you're right, right? So a lot of people don't always get into that. And a lot of things I get don't bother me. And that's just outside the realm of sports. So let me ask you something. So I'm out last night doing the honeydew thing, right? We go to a couple stores, get some stuff for the weekend, and the parking lots just absolutely annoy me, right? That's one thing. But number two, I don't know what everybody's choice of food market is out on the West Coast, or whether you're in in the central part of the map or you're in the East Coast. But I like a very spread out supermarket. And for those who live in Philadelphia and outside of Philadelphia, know there's a supermarket called ShopRite, and it's one of those supermarkets that I can't stand because they try to pack as much stuff into every aisle as possible. So I'm telling you, last night I felt like I was in a barroom brawl, right? All I wanted to do was get some stuff, and I got my ankles broken. I got crashed into the car. I got my door dinged last night, right? All because people were such in a rush, and they're in this gigantic supermarket, okay, that they make smaller by all these massive displays. Now, I will tell you something. I'm gonna tell you a funny story before we get rolling some baseball talk here. I used to be a route salesman. I used to work for a company called HERS, and I loved the job, right? It was a fun job, and the funny part is I didn't know how to drive stick, man. I was not. And the first truck they gave me was a stick shift, and they actually tried to teach me I couldn't do it. So the one day I was rolling in the supermarket, doing it, in first gear, going about 10, 50 miles an hour, bucking away down on the boulevard, and every single box in my truck, every single bag of chips, Slim Jims, hot fries, you name it, was flying all over. I got to my first supermarket, and I had to repack my entire truck, right? But the funny story, the funny part of the story is one of those supermarkets was ShopRite, and those managers consistently say stack anywhere you can find room. The problem I have with that, okay, is now you can't even walk. Right. So last night, that's what happened. Last night, I got my ankles broke. I got my cart ran into, right? I just wanted to get the hell out of there as fast as I could. So one thing I hate going to the supermarket. I love the contactless delivery now, where you can actually order stuff and it can be on your doorstep, on your porch. I think it's not a lazy man's world. I think it's smart. I love it. But just my story for tonight. Just didn't have a great night, but ended up with a nice Moscow mule, okay, and in front of a fire out back doing some fancy baseball research, right? Been some fancy research. So what I will say, well, wait a minute. He's been dealing. Yeah. I listen, man. Let's get right into this slate. Now, what we try to do here on Saturdays is we try to do a little bit of both, right? Because you have games that pop off at 4 o'clock, games pop off at 7 o'clock. It is early. We're not 100% sure. I don't do these shows Friday night. I try to do them early as possible, but just keep an eye on the lineups, right? Just keep an eye on the lineups and see, what we're looking at, up until first pitch. Because look what happened to Ronald Acuna the other night. And I felt like I was dealing with the NBA again, man. I felt like I was dealing with the NBA. Boom, late scratch. He's in the lineup. I missed it. I completely missed it. And, he cost me one of my matchups. But it is what it is. I have a family. We all have other jobs. We all have other things that we do. So we try to mix everything in as best as possible. And sometimes it nips us in the butt. So let's get right into the early games. Now, I'll tell you what, the early games, I wasn't a big fan of the pitching. I really wasn't. It's something that I really struggled with. I did, because, I always look for that flamethrower, right? And, obviously Darvish is going to be your first pick. I think that's obviously, it's an understatement to say it's obvious, right? Darvish dealing against the Philadelphia Phillies, going up against Zach Eflin, who has had a decent year for the Phillies, but the Phillies are so problematic when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. They'll score 8 runs one game, 2 runs the next game. They strike out a ton. They're dealing with some injuries. They get Didi Gregorius back. Bryce Harper looks like he's finally getting to be healthy again, but at the end of the day, that's a lineup that strikes out a ton. And Darvish, 5 different pitches. The guy is unbelievable. I have no doubt in my mind he goes in there and takes care of business. So, you're looking at Darvish at 10,400. So, he's on 11, but he's still a little pricey. So now we're gonna have to look at a guy who, maybe is a little bit less. I shouldn't say that, but maybe a 9,000 guy. But I'm gonna go all the way down the chart here. And I'm going to look at Tyler Skubal again, and we've started this guy a few times, but Tariq Skubal, he's a strikeout guy, and that's what we want, right? I'm not worried about the wins. He is going up against the Chicago White Sox, who have a fairly decent lineup, obviously, right? We talk about them going to the World Series. But Dallas Keuchel's on the mound for them, and he has been inconsistent. So I think there could be a lot of runs, a lot of hits in this game on both sides. But the one thing I could see is a lot of strikeouts. And if you look at Skubal, what he's done over, I say, past five out of the last five, 3 games above 7 Ks, actually 9 the last time out, 11 against the White Sox the last time they faced, right? The last time they faced, he gave you 32 fantasy points against the Chicago White Sox, only pitched 5 innings, but struck out 11. So there's that lucky 13 number I'm talking about. So 5 plus 11, that's 16. So I like Skubal tonight at 6,400. I really do. I want to type that in because that's the one thing that I didn't get up on here. I didn't put the ace on here, so let me type this in real fast because I like to put this stuff on the screen so everybody can see it. So I'm gonna go Skubal, in the early slate. Here we go. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do early aces. Darvish and Skubal. I like that 100%. Look at Dennis. Dennis is the complete opposite, and I love it. I love it. Keuchel and Mahle. Now here's Mahle. The only thing about Tyler Mahle or Mahle, sometimes with these names, you could say them so many different ways, right? You hear one announcer say Mahle, you hear the other announcer say Mahle. It all depends, but no matter what, we get it, right? Adam coming in with a good stop. Good stuff. Tyler Mahle 7-3 record, ERA 3. And listen, Mahle can deal. Okay, he absolutely can deal, right? 100%. My issue is I need him to really, really deal at 9,600, right? So again, for 9,600, 3 out of the last 5 games, because it's the best game. You go to the 10-game log, right? It's all I do on DraftKings. I'm going to be honest with you. I go to it. I look at the 5-game sample size. I just look at that because, I look at 5 games because 6 game could be that hopscotch effect, right? So you could go like good game, bad game, good game, bad game, good game. It sounds crazy and childish, but it actually does work 90% of the time, right? Sounds crazy, but it just shows that when you have an inconsistent pitcher, more likely than not, he's inconsistent. He goes and works on his game, and he comes out the following day, and he's pretty good. As long as he shows that pattern, that's usually what happens, right? But with Tyler Mahle, I'm just going to call Mahle. I like Mahle. I don't like Mahle, okay? Because Mahle to me should be Mail, right? So Mahle to me, he only has 2 games to where I think he is profitable with his price, okay? He had a 28-point game, 35-point game, okay, 35 for 94. You're talking 9,600 at 3 of the last 5. He's only been in low teens, 17, 14, and 13. That's not enough for me. That's not enough for me. It gets a Cubs team that can rake, man. The Cubs can rake at any given time now. And they're playing in Great American Ballpark on an afternoon game. And if the weather is nice, the ball is going to fly out of there. So I'm not in on Mahle at all. I'm just not. He does have the strikeout potential. I'll give you guys that. 27 strikeouts in the last 3 games. That's 9+. That's really, really good. So if you look at from that aspect, that's good. Now, here's what I will say. Now, if you want to start Mahle instead of Darvish, okay, and save yourself the $1,000, then that's a little different, right? All right, it's actually going to save yourself at $800. That's a little different. Then you can mix and match after that. So I can definitely see that. I could definitely see that 100%. Now, Dennis says Cubs hurt. I didn't look at the injury report, Dennis, because it's so early. It changes so much. But what I will say is let me show you this right now. Let's look at who we're talking about for the Cubs. I don't show any of their big guys that are actually hurt, to be honest with you. So if they are day to day, maybe they're not on there yet, but I'm still looking at a Contreras, Bias, Bryant, Rizzo, Wisdom, Peterson, Happ guys that are all pretty good right now. So I'm looking at that right now. That's a decent lineup. And again, It's nothing against Malley. I like him. I've started him a few times. Of just the way I'm formulating my two aces, I just have to go with Darvish because I'm a Philly guy, and I know how bad Philly's been, and I know how susceptible they are against a guy that's got more than 3 or 4 pitches, which Darvish could actually maybe break out 6 if he had to. So I really like that, and I want to drop down at least 2 to 3, and I'm actually dropping down 4 with Skubal at 6,400. But it's a good point, man. Listen, you guys got me with Alex Wood, right? You guys got me last week with Alex Wood, which I love. You guys were right. I can't always be right, right? That's what I love about it. That's what I love about it. And Joe says it's Cubs strike out. Exactly. There are a lot of power hitters, right? They do strike out. Baez strikes out a ton. Brian strikes out a ton. Rizzo strikes out a ton. Contreras strikes out a ton, right? So I do like that. And Skubal's a strikeout pitcher. So I just think that, I mean, Malley's a strikeout pitcher. So I do get that. I do, 100%. I don't want to put a 10-4 guy and a $9,600 guy because I think that messes up my core. That's just my opinion. But you listen, no doubt about it. Malley is a good play today. Darvish, Malley, and Skubal, I think, are all 3 good plays. I'm going to take, for my benefit, the way I'm going to build my cores up, I'm going to go Darvish and Skubal. So let's see how we make out. Now, I hope Malley really does do well today. So again, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be starting him. And again, you also have to look at the low ownership levels as well, right? We have to look at them. How much ownership are we talking about? How much ownership are we getting, right? That's one of the biggest things we have to look at as well. So let's go into the early core. Okay, let's go into early core. And this could be a little different than from what some people have. And again, I like to be different. I like to change it up. I absolutely love to change it up, right? I do. And the reason why I love to change it up is because everybody, I hate when I go in the lines to see that the 50, 60, 70% ownership levels. I think because every day, every matchup, okay, there's a guy that's 60, 70% ownership that scored 25 points. Well, I bet you this, there's another guy 40% ownership that scored just as many points. So I try to mix and match a little bit, and that's why we do this. I want to collaborate with you guys. I want you guys to see what I see, and then maybe you listen. I may throw another lineup in today again because Dennis and Joe are and Adam bring up the Malley effect. So I may throw up another lineup just to put Malley in there. Okay, I like it. That's why we do these shows. It's a collaborative effort, which I absolutely love. This is why we are a DFS community. I love that. Nobody's better than the other. It's absolutely. Listen, this whole thing that we do, I love it. I just love it. We're all a family, man. That's the way I call it. I start the Heat Ratio Sports Network a while ago, and I say we're all family. It is a family. Everybody, whether it be you're a commenter, whether you're a chatter, whether you're an analyst, whether you're a guest, whether you're a host, doesn't matter. We're all together. So let's look at this core. I like this core. I do. I like the way this core is built. Okay, yo, Al, what's up, Al? My man, Al, what's good? Al finally got all the accounts connected here today. So finally, I'm spreading out a little bit on all the other Facebook pages and all the social media outfits. So, which I'm glad bring everybody in the occasion. Al, obviously my Heat Ratio Sports brethren, my half core Heat co-host, one of the 3, which we do a basketball show called Half Core Heat Ratio Sports Network. Check us out as always Sunday nights. Let's see, Adam going Winkler, Cruz, and Altuve. Okay. Listen, it's funny. I like Winkler. I like the Cincinnati effect, right? I like Cruz. I like the Minnesota. They got a great matchup. Minnesota has a great matchup to hit on. And obviously Altuve has been smoking hot, 100%. So I'm going with Kershaw Yelich because the Milwaukee Brewers on offense have just been setting the world apart right now. Finally, they are really, really coming to play every single day. Whit Merrifield here's your guy in the lineup. I tell you, or my cord, I tell you guys all the time, I like guys that can do multifunctional thing. And Whit Merrifield is that guy. Stealing bases, walking, RBIs, doubles, extra base hits, you name it. He's able multi-hit games. He's able to do it. And the one thing about Whit Merrifield is what we're looking at here, okay, is Minnesota Minnesota is trotting out Griffin Jacks today. Okay. His ERA right now is 7.82. Okay. This isn't a starter by no means. All right. So his last 3 times he hits the mound, he barely hits 4 innings. Okay. He's given up 3 home runs in the past 2 games that started. I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna feast on Griffin Jacks, right? I'm gonna feast on Griffin Jacks. So I think Kansas City, really good play. Now on the other end, Kansas City's rolling out Danny Duffy. And Danny Duffy, even though he's been decent from a Major League Baseball perspective, okay, what he's done is the last game he gave up 3 home runs, okay? 3 home runs. And in the last 3 games, he hasn't even made higher than 3 innings pitched. So I like the matchup for Minnesota against Kansas City. I like the matchup Kansas City against Minnesota. So that's why you'll see in my core, I have 2 guys where I have Donaldson, who's going to give me the Minnesota effect, and I have Merrifield, who's going to give me the Kansas City effect, which I like. Look at that. So Dennis says Gurriel, Molina, and Buster Posey. I like here's a funny thing for you, Dennis, and this is why I love this, because we're always on the same page, right? We're always on the same page with different things here. So let me see. I have a ton of comments here. I can't. So I love Yadier Molina today. He is actually my early catching pick. So I do an early catching pick, and I do a late catching pick, because I think catchers, even though they're not important, I like to kind of take those guys out, so to speak. Okay, but I like St. Louis today. I like St. Louis. I really like the matchup that they give. I like Goldschmidt today. I like Dylan Carlson today as a value play. Goldschmidt is under 5,000, 4,900. I know he's starting to heat up a little bit. He had a rough April. He had a decent May, a decent June. I think July is going to be his month. I think he's finally going to start to heat up. It really is. Again, Nolan Arenado out there, 16 home runs. I thought they expected probably a little more. I predicted he'd be under 30 this year. I think he still will be under 30, but I think that St. Louis Cardinals team gives you a lot of upside. Yadier Molina has been really, really good at the catching position. He's been consistent, and we talk about that a lot. He's been a consistent performer. So I do like Yadier Molina today. I do. I really do. Now, you speak of Gurriel, and again, it all depends on the pitching matchup, right? It all depends on the pitching matchup where we're at. Buster Posey. Yeah, so you got me thinking about you got me looking at Buster Posey now, thinking about Buster Posey. You're talking late game. I like that. You're talking late game, which is fine. I'm going to get right now. Let's talk early game, but that's how you got me all screwed. I'm like, wait a minute, Buster Posey. I thought he played tonight, right? So now we'll get into that in a minute. Dennis, let me finish out this early game slate, so I don't get sidetracked here. So right now, when I'm looking at, let's start from the beginning. I like the early aces. I like Darvish and I like Skubal. Again, Skubal for 6,400. I really like that. My early core, I like Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich has been hot. Christian Yelich has been hot. Okay. He is finally doing what we expected him to do, right? Finally. He started off slow. It's okay, but he finally he's consistent, right? 5, 9, 4, 16, 13. I mean, he's starting to get those double-digit games. He's starting to get them, he's hitting safely 4 out of the last 5. He stole a couple bases. He's striking out a ton this year, which is unlike Christian Yelich, okay? Remember, this is a guy who was basically going for the Triple Crown a couple years ago, hitting over 300. Now he's under 250, which isn't great. I still think that he's fighting his way back from multiple injuries, right? He's been a shadow of himself from his MVP run in 2018. I think we all can agree with that, but I think there's certain spots to where we can pick for him to pick apart one of the pitchers. And today, against the Pittsburgh Pirates, it's going to be Cody Ponce, right? Cody Ponce, ERA, 7.88, right? 7.88. His last game, he only hit 3 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, okay, 6 hits allowed. Again, a rookie guy, not necessarily a rookie to the mound because he was recalled again in order to come up and pitch. So I am not in on Cody Ponce. I think you can hit Cody Ponce or Cody Ponce. You can grab Ponce and go up against him. His whip is actually above 2. Under 1 is elite. 2 is absolutely horrific. So again, Milwaukee, I think is a really good play today. You want to start guys like Yelich. You want to start guys like Adams, right? Adams has been hot as well. So I think this is a Christian Yelich day, in my opinion, right? So let's look at some early value. Right now, some early value I like. So Adam says Schwarber, Gallo, McMahon. I got to watch about Schwarber, right? So Schwarber got hurt last night, tweaked something a little bit, so we have to keep an eye on that. Non-contact leg injury. Let's hopefully he's okay. So we'll have to look at the injury report to see what's going on with him. But my early game value, I like Suarez. I think this is again. Pitching matchups, right? Suarez to me, last week we said Joey Gallo day, right? That's what we predicted. This week, I'm going to take a Suarez day. Okay, all the time it's a strictly power hitter. Okay, Suarez is a power hitter. That's why he bats under 200. I mean, there was a guy they know very well, and Adam Dunn, that did that a lot, right? So he did that a lot. Now, he hasn't hit a home run in 5 games, but he does have 16 for the year, and he is 4,000. I think he's a little bit underpriced today, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm looking at the pitching matchup, right? Looking at the pitching matchup. So if you look at the pitching matchup, Alzole, right? I mean, these names are tongue twisters, right? But we're going to call this guy AA, right? So AA right now. Now, for all kidding aside, okay, Alzole, what he's been able to do is give up 5 home runs in the past 3 games. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at that and that only. Okay, he's barely gotten out of the 3rd inning. He's given up a ton of hits. We're talking 13 hits in 3 games. He's given up a ton of runs, 13 runs in 3 games, and he's given up, you count it, 5 home runs in the past 3. So this has got Suarez written all over to me. Guys like Castellanos, guys like Winkler, right? Winker. All these guys are going to be up there on his list, but for 4,000 to me, Suarez is definitely the name of the game. I can predict another good, solid, just like we had a Joey Gallo day today. I think this is going to be a Suarez day today. Let's see if we can bang that out again. Ryan O'Hearn was an FFVP for us, right? We picked him up when he was 2,600, and what he's been able to do is he's been able to exceed that value. And now, what has Ryan O'Hearn been able to do? He is starting to be thought of in everybody's lineups, and I absolutely love it. We what we do here is we basically bring these guys and bring these guys to light, right? We bring these guys, and again, this is a Griffin Jacks game, right? Talked about that. Ryan O'Hearn has been positive production in the last 5 games. He's 3,400. We started when he was 2,700. Okay, today 100% is a home run day today for Ryan O'Hearn. I could see a 16 to 20 point day for Ryan O'Hearn, and if you get him for 3,400 against Griffin Jacks, who's giving up a long ball, ERA through the roof, whip through the roof, it doesn't matter. Start Ryan O'Hearn today and get him in your lineup. Now, the other value play I like is Mr. Goodwin. Okay, I love Mr. Goodwin. And again, Goodwin is another guy who's kind of been off everybody's radar a little bit. And, he comes on, he goes off, he comes on, he goes off. And what I love about him is he just produces. And we talk about this all the time, right? We talk about this all the time. So the White Sox have a ton of power potential in their lineup. But what Brian Goodwin does is he shifts that pendulum a little bit because he does it all, right? He does it all. He's simply 4 out of 5 games. He's actually scored 6 runs in 5 games. Okay. He has multi-home run games. And what I mean by that is 2 home run games out of the past 5. He's hit a double, he's hit a triple, scored 3 RBIs, he's walked 3 times, and he's only struck out 3 times in 5 games. This is the kind of 5-tool guy that you want for $3,300 to fill in your lineup. Brian Goodwin, again, his last 3 games. Here you go. His last 3 games, 51 fantasy points. Okay, 51 fantasy points in his last 3 games. These are the gems that you need to look at. Brian Goodwin can help you win your absolute cash game by throwing him into the lineup. So I like Brian Goodwin as a value today. Again, these 3 value guys, I think they can really, really help you. Now, Dennis is asking about Trey Turner. Now, I looked at Trey Turner. I did, Dennis. I really did, and we're going to get to him when we get to the late game slate. So let me, because I will tell you about Trey Turner. I do like him. But he's actually not in my core. So let's go FFVP, because this is what everybody wants to know, right? We did our aces, we did our core, we did our value. Okay, how about first we do the early game sleeper? Early game sleeper, Miguel Cabrera. Good old Miggy, right? Good old Miggy. We got that huge contract, right? He's kind of been fading away to nothing. Miggy goes from carrying teams at 5,500 5 years ago to now he's barely 3,000, right? Barely 3,000. But I'll tell you what, this is what I love about Miggy, okay? Miggy every now and then will break out a couple good games, okay? So he's actually been in positive points 3 out of the last 5. And 2 out of those games, he's giving you 19 and 21 for under 2,600. So they boost his value up to $3,000. Now that's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. 40 points in 2 games. That's basically 20 points per game. Okay, so you have to pick your spots with Miggy. You do. You have to pick your spots with Miggy. And today, what he does is he faces Dallas Keuchel. Now, Dallas Keuchel, decent pitcher, okay? I know that. Dallas Keuchel is a decent pitcher. But what does he do? He gives up the long ball, okay? Last game out, he gave up 2 home runs to Seattle. 2. Okay, now, 3 home runs in the past 4 that he's pitched. But those 2 home runs to me are symbolic, and he's a lefty, and he's a junk baller. I'm telling you right now, he's going to make a mistake today, and Miguel Cabrera is going to go long. Okay, he's going to be that go long guy for under 4,000. So I think at $3,000, if you're formulating your lineup and you have $3,000 left, and you're happy with your core and you're happy with your aces, I think you can get your FFVP in there, which I'll give you in a minute. But I think you could get that sleeper in there that very well could be Miguel Cabrera today. So I'm going to go Miguel Cabrera for the sleeper. Now, FFVP early. We got a couple. Okay. Adrianza, the reason why I have 2 is because Adrianza may not play today. I'm not sure. He's every other game. He's every other game. So we have to be careful with him. Okay. That's the thing about the early, these early shows. I have to kind of give you a disclaimer that you listen, you don't know. Okay. You don't know if these guys are going to play or not. But when he does play, okay, in 2 games that he did play, he's at 29 points, almost 30 points, almost 15 points a game. He's 2,400. Okay, he's 2,400, and he already has a multi-hit game. He was recalled. He's young. Okay, I really like what he's been able to do. Actually, came off the bench the other night and hits a home run. Okay, when he scored that abominable 20-2 game against the New York Mets. But Adrianza, what I like about him is, again, he's another player that's young, he's speedy, and he can do a lot. And he plays with a protected lineup in Atlanta with a ton of bats around him with Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, right? So you throw this kid in there, and he's going to get opportunities just by accident. So for 2,400, I like Adrianza as the FFVP. Now, if he doesn't play, the next guy I'm going to go to is going to be Michael Taylor. Okay. And I'm going to go to Michael Taylor because I think he is a tremendous value play today for the price. Okay. Listen, Michael Taylor, again, Pick your spots, right? But here's a guy at 2,300 today. 2,300 for Kansas City up against that really good pitching matchup we talked about in Minnesota. And he's been positive points 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5, and he's giving you 2 double, 31 and a 14, and his number is still only 2,300. So as long as he's in the lineup, and make sure he is, he usually is, but you never know. It's a Saturday, okay? Because of the good pitching matchup in Minnesota, okay? They're playing at home in Kansas City, okay? And for 2,300, I don't think you can lose. So I like these FFVPs. I really do for today. I think they could really, really have a really, really good play for you guys when you're talking about cashing in. I had a feeling that Cabrera might home run off of Keuchel. It's all, yeah, Dennis, it's all a gamble. And Keuchel gave up 2 home runs last game. He's a veteran pitcher, pitches a lot of changing speeds, things of that nature. So what happens is when he throws those fastballs at only 87 and 88, some of them look like beach balls. And that's one thing Miguel Cabrera can still do. He can hit a fastball. So if he makes that mistake, I think Cabrera today goes long. I just a hunch because of what he's done over the past 2 out of 5 and because of what Keuchel may do. So I have with you. It's just a gut feeling, but that's why we gamble, right? We have these gut feelings and we have fun. So, okay. So we've seen that. Let's get to the late game because I want to talk some football too. Okay. Late aces. Clayton Kershaw. Is there another guy that you're going to start late than Clayton Kershaw? I highly doubt it. When we look at these, a 7-game slate starting at 7:15. Okay, I mean, listen, Adrianza, okay, pitcher. Alex Cobb, okay. Some guys are riding the Cole Irvin experiment. I don't listen. I still don't trust Cole Irvin against the Boston Red Sox. Just not my thing. I think Garrett Richards is a guy that you're going to look to hit against, right? You could have a secret sleeper and Espino, but the problem with Espino is he's going up against Kershaw. Okay, you want to attack a guy like Kyle Freeland if he is in the lineup. Okay, you want to attack guys like Mr. Wade LeBlanc, who is in Colorado. Okay, for the St. Louis Cardinals. But my second guy would be Sammy Long. Sammy Long is my sleeper ace today. Okay, he's my sleeper ace today in the late game slate. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, because when I look at these things and I'm trying to put my biggest power punch, I should say, in my lineup, I like taking guys that are low on the totem pole a little bit, right? So 8,100 Sammy Long for the San Francisco Giants go up against the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are at home. Not a great team. We all know one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball, to be honest with you, but San Francisco, best team in baseball, best record in baseball. Shout out Gabe Kapler, right? Who would have thought? But Sammy Long, again, this is another guy who I look at the hopscotch effect. He's good, bad, right? So the last time he went up against Arizona, he wasn't great. Lasted 5 innings, gave up 4 runs, only struck out 3. But now I think he understands the lineup, right? So he goes out to Philadelphia, and what's he do? He strikes out 6. Texas, he strikes out 7, right? So he shows he has the potential. He really does. So I'm going to go sleeper with Sammy Long because I think he's going to catch these Arizona bats the second time around. Okay, he's got film on him, knows what to expect. I think he'll double-digit that strikeout total. Last time was 3. I think he'll get that up to 6. And as long as he goes, 6, 7 innings, he gives you that lucky number 13, maybe gets a win and gives you that 20-point total for 8,100. So I like Sammy Long today a lot, for my second ace in the late core. So let's get to our late game core, which is right here. And I like this. We talked about this, man. We talked about this St. Louis team, right? So I like this. This is a different core, okay? And again, I like to be different. Right? All in with, you have to be all in with Kershaw, 100%. San Francisco Wednesday. I agree, man. That's why I like Sammy Long. Late core, okay? Matt Chapman, who is, listen, when he starts to get on fire, which he's starting to hit the cover off the ball. I was between Matt Olson and I was against Chapman because I want to attack Garrett Richards, right? So I think there's a lot of Oakland plays here, whether it be Tony Kemp, Chad Pinder, Laureano, Maybe if Seth Brown gets a call, I'm not sure. But I was between Chapman and Olsen. And the only reason I went Chapman is because I like the right-hander today, in that lineup. And I like what he's been doing over the last few games. He's hitting the ball really hard. His contact rate is very high. It's above 50, 60%. He's killing it. He is. And I think he's going to carry that Oakland team today. Max Muncy doesn't get talked about enough. Max Muncy, multi-position eligible, which is even better at first and second base. He is just double-digit stardom. I mean, he's double-digit stardom. I don't even know if that's a term, but that's what Max Muncy is. He has absolutely been so consistent. From either the first or second base position. He's double digits all 5 games out of the last 5. 3 home runs out of the last 5. He's hit safely in all 5 games. He's got 2 games where he's multiple times. He's got 2 games where he's scored multiple runs. Max Muncy, how is he not in the lineup, right? He's got to be in your lineup. He's got to be in your core. He absolutely has to be in your core. So, and again, you got to look at the pitch-up matchup, So, I get it. Espino, he's a decent pitcher, got a really good ERA, really good whip, He does. But he gives up hits. He's 8 hits in his last 2 starts. So, he's able to be hit. That is the most important part. And he doesn't strike out a ton. He only has 5 strikeouts in his last 3 games. That's barely 2 a game. So, you're going up against a pitcher who doesn't strike out a lot, or doesn't strike out a lot of batters, and obviously makes mistakes because he can be hit. So, listen, I mean, the Dodgers are a good play today, but Max Muncy, he's in my core. It's another good day for Muncy. I really do believe that. Paul Goldschmidt, I talked about him. He started off slow. I get it. He's starting to come back, and this is the Goldschmidt day today. I said before, Gallo day today. It's the Colorado effect. I like the Colorado game. There's no weather issues right now. Right now, is it going to be, the whole thing about Colorado is, it looks like it's going to be Freeland, even though he was day-to-day, as long as he feels okay and the bullpen session goes well, he's going to start. If not, it's going to be a bullpen guy, which even serves better. Now, Freeland, the last 2 games has been pretty good. He's striking out 7 per 14 strikeouts in 2 games. I get that. Only giving up 1 run, but before that, it was an abomination. It was 18 runs he's given up in 3 starts. So the Colorado effect, to me, I liked it. It's a night game. The ball's gonna fly out of there. He's, if he does pitch, he can be rusty because he did get hurt and he's coming back from injury off the day-to-day status. If not, it's going to be a bullpen day. So I like St. Louis today, for the bat perspective. That's why I like Molina. I like Carlson. Obviously, you like Arenado, but I'm going to put Goldschmidt in my core because I think this is a Goldschmidt's game. And on that same token, my man Tapia for Colorado, I've been watching this guy. And again, I think if you guys watch these players, he's almost up to 5,000. He's 4,900. This kid has come in. He come in at 3,400 and was consistently at 41. Let me tell you something. This kid only has 2 games out of the past 20 where he hasn't had any points. That's it. 2. Only 2. He has been in a positive out of 18 of 20. And he's giving you multi-hit games. He can hit to all fields. He can steal bases, and he doesn't strike out a ton. And he plays in Colorado. I mean, what better scenario do you need? So he's going to be my all-around 5-tool guy today in my core. Raimel Tapia is going to be the guy who's going to be my stolen base guy, my RBI guy, my run score guy, my hits guy. He's in my core. So you follow him up with Muncy, you follow him up with Goldschmidt, you follow him up, you get the power effect between Chapman and Muncy, and then you have the power effect with Goldschmidt. Obviously, Muncy is the consistent effect. The power effect is Chapman and Goldschmidt, and you have the 5-tool effect with Tapia. Look at. See, I love Dennis. I was in Rendon, right? I talked about Rendon last week. I said, yo, get Rendon into the lineups this week, right? I told everybody about that. I talked about it. Get him into the lineups. I thought he was going to be a guy that you can lean on that was really going to start to finally play up the potential a little bit, right? And what did he do? Let's see. What kind of week did my man Rendon have? Were we right? Did we hit on that? Did we get, and what did he do? This is what I love. We said start Rendon, right? 13, 8, 10, 13, 4. 3 double-digit point totals in 5 games. So again, people, if you're not listening to the Fantasy Firebox, if you're not following Win Daily Sports, you're doing it wrong. We're giving you guys a week ahead, and that's what we do on Sundays. We give you guys that we look at, and we can say, yo, look at the following week. Look at the week ahead, because these are going to be the guys that you need to look at in order to win. And Anthony Rendon was one of those guys. Now, when you say Crawford, because I have, look what we're talking about. I think we're on the same page here. Again, Dennis, I think we're on the same page. I really do, because look at my late value, JP Crawford. That JP Crawford not getting enough love, people. And I hate to see it because he was a Philadelphia Philly. Okay. But listen, and we killed him here because we weren't sure what he was going to be able to do. Okay. But what he's been able to do is he's been positive. Okay, positive point production with J.P. Crawford. He's been really good for that Seattle team. Okay, almost has his average up to 300. He's at 290 right now. Last 3 games, 15, 13, 15. Then he's a 7-3. Multi-hit games, not only multi-hit games, he's going 3 hits in 1 game, twice over the past 5, 3 multi-base hits, 3 doubles in that span, and he's only struck out twice in 5. Listen, J.P. Crawford is going to be at 4,500 before you know it. So now is the time to pounce. He's under 4,000. Get him in your lineup now while you can still afford him and you're not chasing money, because that's not what you want to do. So J.B. Crawford, to me, has to be in your value lineup. Franmil Reyes, another one. We don't know what's going on with Jose Ramirez. So, he may have to carry that Cleveland lineup. And again, he's another guy. Dennis is a Mariners guy. That's right. He's a Mariners guy. I love it. But the reason why, again, you got to look at Franmil Reyes is because it could be no Ramirez today. It could be Reyes, who, along with Bobby Bradley, who's trying to, hold that line together. But if you look at his numbers, again, I talk about positive point production, PPP, positive point production, when I do these value picks, 9, 16, 2, 12, 7. He's been on the positive side 4 out of 5, and he's only at 3,400. He's dropped from 4,700 to 3,400 in the last 5 contests. So that's the kind of guy that you have to pounce on. 3,400, Franmil Reyes. He is a great value play today against the Houston Astros. And then I got to give my man Dylan Carlson some love. I talked about him before. Listen, he just consistently gets it done, man. He does. He's another bat that you have to look at that, again, he's an under $4,000 guy. He just produces. Now, he does have a 0 out of the past 5, but he's got a 17. He's giving you, he's giving you the 5s, the 17s, the 7s, the 8s. He'll throw a 3 in every now and then. But for the most part, when you're building lines and you get a good pitching matchup, which I talked about against Kyle Freeland, a good field against Colorado. Okay, we all know about Colorado. Everybody's value gets to be boosted when they play the Rockies in Colorado, especially a night game. Balls like to go out of there at night. I'm telling you, it's a 9 o'clock start. I think this is going to be prime time power for the Rockies and for the Cardinals. So that's why I have Goldschmidt in my core, and that's why I like Dylan Carlson as a value play. So let's go again to the FFVP. All right. How about the FFVP late? Pavin Smith. Okay, for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, Pavin Smith, if everybody recalls, Pavin Smith was up there in the $5,000 realm. He was in the $5,000 realm very early in the year, and then he fell out of favor. Okay, he fell out of favor a little bit. Okay, because he went on a really big slump. It's what happens. Every now and then that happens, right? There's nothing you can do about it. But here's what he's been able to do. Over the and here's the thing about Pavin Smith, $2,600. Okay, he's a power guy. Okay, even though he's a power guy, and what he's done in San Francisco or in Arizona against San Francisco the last two games, he's hit a home run, 2 home runs in 2 games, double 14s. Okay, and his numbers dropping again. And his number's still dropping. Okay, 3,100 gets you 14, drops to 2,700, gets you 14. Now he drops to 2,600. Start Pavin Smith, FFVP, Fantasy Firebox Value Play of the Day for the late game slate. Pavin Smith, he could essentially go long for the 3rd straight day against Sammy Long. How ironic would that be? But I really like that FFVP, absolutely. And the last pick for the day, before we get into football for the last 10 minutes, our catching pick, okay, because we like, I know my man Adam asked for catchers, and I like to give a little catching pick every now and then, okay, for each game, and that pick right now comes from who else but the Colorado Rockies, right? The Colorado Rockies. That's who we have to go with, okay? And why is that? So Elias Diaz, if you look at what he's done, again, small sample size, it's okay. But this guy's been one of the best catchers over the past 2 weeks in DFS. 19, 26, 17, 16. I mean, he's the multi-hit games. He actually, the 2 out of the last 3, he's had 2-hit games. 1 out of the last 3, he had a 3-hit game. Double and a home run in 2. His last 2, he had a double and a home run, knocked in 4 RBIs, and he's only struck out 3 times in 5. So, Elias Diaz or Elias Diaz, whatever you want to call him, okay, I'll take Diaz every day of the week in Colorado on a night game for 4,400. Again, this is going to be a lot of runs scored in this game, and I think Diaz will be a prime recipient of those runs. I mean, he has hit a home run. We haven't even said this, 4 straight games. Now, is he going to hit in 5? I don't know, but 4 straight games, he's hit a home run. So he's getting the bat on the ball. So I would take Elias Diaz as my catcher for that late game slate. So there you have it. So we will definitely talk about what, we will review these picks in the next couple minutes, but I want to talk a little football, and I want to switch it up and talk a little football because right now, this is draft season. Whenever you get to 4th of July weekend, drafts start to happen. And I want to look at each week, I want to start profiling a couple players or a couple teams. And, I want to look at the Cincinnati Bengals today. For the last 10 minutes here. And I want to look at them because I think there's a lot of intriguing questions on that team. So number one specifically, it's by the leader, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, what we've seen out of Joe Burrow was an unbelievable talent before he got hurt. Played 10 games last year, right? From a fantasy perspective, he was unbelievable for a rookie quarterback. Now, he had 1 game go against Baltimore, but who doesn't get stymied against Baltimore, okay, where he only threw for 183 yards. That was it. That was the biggest blemish on his rookie year, in my opinion. For the most part, he was, he had a couple games, 14 and 15, but for the most part, he was above 20 and almost at that 30-point mark a couple times. So he's got a really good supporting cast around him this year. Now, the biggest question mark about Joe Burrow is going to be, we hear a lot of people talk about it. It's about Zach Taylor. It's about the offensive line. Is it going to be good enough to, number one, keep him healthy? And number 2, is it going to be enough to keep opposing defenses guessing? Is that play calling by Zach Taylor going to be enough? Now, a lot of weapons, right? T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, right? We already know that. I think one of the biggest things I wanted to look at too, though, is the Joe Mixon effect. Now, last year with Joe Mixon, we always had to worry about the Giovanni Bernard, okay? We always had to worry about Gio's not there anymore, okay? Perrine is there as a second guy. He's only there as a placeholder, in my opinion. But one of the biggest problems with Joe Mixon last year, not to mention the injury, right? The foot injury that only allowed him to play in 6 games, was the offensive line play. It's all about the offensive line, okay? Because if you look at the rushing average from Joe Mixon, I mean, it was under 3.6 for those 6 games. That's not good. Average is about 4.1. So you're literally 5 points below the average of all the rest of the running backs in the NFL. So that number one says you're not hitting the right holes, and number two could be the holes probably weren't developed by the offensive line, and maybe the offensive play calling was not good enough to keep guys on edge. So that's one of the things we had to look at when we look at these Cincinnati Bengals. I had Burrows in my league until he got hurt. Yeah, listen, Burrow was really, really good. Dennis, Dennis, I love the Washington football team. I do. I love the Washington football team. They are my pick to come out of the NFC East, even though I'm a Philadelphia Eagle bred and born. But I love Washington. I love Ron Rivera. I love Chase Young. I love Jack Del Rio. I love them bringing in Ryan Fitzpatrick. So we're going to profile them. Maybe we'll profile the Washington football team tomorrow because I think they have a lot of decent potential when it comes from the fantasy perspective. All we needed was a little magic. You're right. All you needed was a little Fitz magic, right? So I'll tell you what, I'm going to be honest with you. Getting back with the Bengals is, I'm going to fade Joe Mixon. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love Joe Mixon. I do. Okay. But again, I have to see it. I do. I have to see it. I have to make sure that he's going to be able to be a bell cow back. Okay. I have to make sure that the quarterback is healthy, and I have to make sure that the offensive line is good enough. And I have to make sure Zach Taylor can call a really good offensive game. That's what to look at, because I kind of think this is going to be a pass-first team. And I don't think they're going to run the ball enough, in my opinion, for Joe Mixon to be that top 5, top 6, top 7 back. I would take guys like David Montgomery over Joe Mixon from the Chicago Bears. I think what David Montgomery was able to show over that last 4 or 5 game sample size, where he's definitely ready to be a bell cow guy. So when you look at Joe Mixon, when I do these things, I always have to look at who would I take above Joe Mixon in the preseason outlooks, right? Who would I take above Joe Mixon? And that's the thing, right now, a lot of the consensus of Joe Mixon is his ADP it's a second round ADP, but his rank is number 8. Overall, it's an 8th ranked running back. So what I have to do is I have to go back and I have to look at those 8 guys above him. Now, obviously, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, those guys go above him. I'm still question mark about Saquon Barkley. We don't know about the injury effect. Zeke Elliott plays like he actually doesn't care. But I don't think Joe Mixon has a right to be drafted above Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to be honest with you. Jonathan Taylor to me is definite bell cow material, even though Marlon Mack is still there and Nyheim Hines is there. I think Jonathan Taylor proved enough that he's ready to shoulder a load. So he's going to get enough production from the touches he gets to be up in that top tier. I think he's above Joe Mixon. I think Aaron Jones is above Joe Mixon. I think Cam Akers is above Joe Mixon. So I'm curious to see what everybody wants to think about where Joe Mixon should fall, because I think it's a very intriguing question, because into those top 3, 4, or 5 running backs, it's kind of a crapshoot on who you really like instead. Like I said, David Montgomery to me doesn't get enough love. He's all the way down on the depth chart here. They have him as ranked as like the 15th ranked running back, which I think is different. DeAndre Swift is another guy I really like. I have to see more out of Joe Mixon. I have to see a better yards per touch out of Joe Mixon. I got to see a better offensive line, and I have to see a better play calling ability by Zach Taylor in order for me to say I'm all in on Joe Mixon as the number 8th running back. So I just don't see it. So we're going to ignore the knee. Exactly. They see that, and that's the other thing, right? Come on, man. Like the guy's coming back. Not only is Joe Burrow coming back from injury, but Joe Mixon's coming back from injury as well. So we can't ignore everything, and you can't ignore a guy who had under 3.6 yards per carry. I'm just not set to say that I'm all in on Joe Mixon. I wasn't a Joe Mixon guy last year, and I'm not a Joe Mixon guy this year. So again, this is what I want to do. See you again. As always, thanks for checking in. See you. Me and you are going to get together in the next 2 weeks so we can get this show rolling together, because I think me and you, with this football talk, I think it's time for Jigsaw and C to get together to give the Win Daily audience what they've all wanted and to get our breakdowns of our rankings for all 3 or 4 positions. Adam says Miles Sanders. So I like Miles Sanders too, but I don't know if I would draft him honestly above Joe Mixon, only because of the utilization of Miles Sanders. So we shall see about that. But what I want to do is I want everybody to tell me, get this ready for tomorrow. I want, who would you draft above Joe Mixon, right? I do want that. I do want that. What way I'm going to do this is I'm going to formulate a poll. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 4 picks in there. Okay. Because me specifically, what I'm going to look at is certain guys that are drafted, in a consensus preseason, off-season outlook below Joe Mixon. Those guys are going to be Austin Eckler. Those guys are going to be Jonathan Taylor. Those guys are going to be Cam Akers. And those guys are going to be Aaron Jones. And I'm going to take those 4 guys. Okay, and I want to know where Joe Mixon falls with those 4 guys. So bring that tomorrow. Bring the heat as always. Let's review real fast like we always do, okay, before we get out of here. Okay, we talked about MLB DFS, okay, and we talked about our early core of Christian Yelich with Merrifield and Josh Donaldson. We talked about our early aces of Darvish and Tyler Skubal. Okay, we talked about our early value of Suarez, O'Hearn, and Goodwin. Okay. And then we talked about our early sleeper in Miguel Cabrera. Okay. And then we talked about our early FVPPs in Adrianza and Michael Taylor. Okay. So check those guys out right there. Get them in the lineup. So now let's go with the late game core. Okay, we talked about Chapman, Muncy, Goldschmidt, and Tapia. Okay, our late game aces are Kershaw and Long. Sammy Long, right? We talked about that. Our late value is going to be JP Crawford, Franmil Reyes, and Dylan Carlson. Our FFVP is going to be Pavin Smith at $2,600. Okay, and our late game catching pick is Elias Diaz. So there you have it, people. I hope everybody enjoys their Saturday afternoon. Hope everybody enjoys their 4th of July weekend. I will be back tomorrow, okay, to review some of these picks. It's Value Day Sunday, okay? That's what we call it, Value Day Sunday, where what we do tomorrow is we look at the values going forward for the following week, and we talk more NFL here on the Fantasy Firebox. So as always, Tony Jigsaw Cutillo. You can follow me at tcutillo23. Follow us all at Win Daily Sports, okay? Follow us all at Win Daily Sports. Adam, great show. Thank you, brother, as always, for checking in. Let's go Phillies 100%. But again, keep it locked here, man. Big things coming from the Win Daily brand. And for me personally, at tcutillo23, you can find me here every single Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Fantasy Firebox. Got some interesting things planned. You're going to see me more during the week. I promise you that. Heat Ratio Live will be back on Tuesday, July 5th. Okay, we got a lot of big things cooking, man. And as always, every single day, 3:50 on Fox Sports The Gambler, you can catch my fantasy vignettes. So everybody stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy the day today, and I will get at you tomorrow.